Hi, welcome. My name is Bas Filippini. I'm founder of Privacy First in Holland, and I'm now leader of political party Free and Social Netherlands. We can be free and social. So that's a little bit the idea, and we are based on the principles of a good human relationship, which is love, trust, freedom, and good communications. What do we see right now in the world? We see hate, fear, force, and no communication with the people. And we are seeing also that our institutions are corrupted by a very small group of business leaders, which have a kind of philosophy. It's my opinion. They have the philosophy of the surveillance capitalism. There's a nice book around it, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. And the basic idea of surveillance capitalism is to monetize data and also to influence and steer behavior of people. And in Silicon Valley, the big companies, the big five, are using these techniques now for around 10 years, more and more detailed. And they created a pact, so to say, with big tech created a pact with big pharma, big finance, and big media to go for a digital idea to monetize all data from every citizen in the world and to earn as much money out of this monetization. And that's what I see. And therefore they need a digital idea. See it as a corona pass or discrimination pass or whatever pass. But the idea is to get a digital ID from all citizens. And that way of thinking is quite disturbing because that means the end of privacy, but also the end of autonomy of people. And the leaders of these obscure business clubs, which act as an NGO, that they very clever, they did that very clever, but they are corrupting our institutions like the United Nations, like the local institutions in your country. So they corrupt them by their power and money. Imagine that the five big techs in the US are bigger than the whole economy of Europe. And those five unchosen leaders, they can discuss anything what they want, and they can get anything what they want. But it's not in the interest of we, the citizens. So they are not playing in our interest, and that's exactly what you see right now. You see a lot of developments towards authoritarianism. And that's also what the Mr. Klaus Schwab thinks. If you are implementing a great reset to get to this surveillance society, because they map the surveillance capitalism towards surveillance socialism or surveillance society, then one thing has to get rid of, and that's privacy. And that's the autonomy of people. And he's thinking, and they are thinking about the Internet of Bodies. So it's a transhumanism agenda, which is totalitarian, but is also diminishing our autonomy and our right to think, our right to act, and our right on basic freedom and human rights. So that's a little bit the idea behind these developments. So it's a kind of ism, like socialism. This is surveilism. And the surveilism is a new way of thinking, which is not in the advantage of we, the people. Now, if you look from this basic point, you see that they use our organizations. They use the World Health Organization. Around 180 countries are connected to this organization. And they are putting the rules right now. And whatever narrative you come with, whatever facts you come with, they counterattack it in an Orwellian way, like Newspeak, and they turn it around 180 degrees. What's normal, it's the new normal. What's freedom, it's a new way of controlling the citizen by a pass. They sell it like freedom, but it is a pass. And it starts with vaccination every 6 months, but it ends with behavior. And if you have not the right behavior in this social credit system, a Chinese social credit system, interesting also to look to the role of China behind the scenes. But that is something for investigative journalism. But what if your behavior is not according to their rule, your money will be suspended because they are introducing also central bank digital currency, which is connected also to this system. And the head of the BIS in Switzerland already told us in an interview that he has then the fully power to control anything around money. The way you spend it, the time you spend it, and the location where you spend it. So then we as citizens are totally dependent on a kind of AI, artificial intelligence algorithm, to spend our money, to live our lives. And if we go a little bit over the line, we cannot survive in that society. And I think it's time now for a good, thorough discussion around this subject to see who is the enemy of our freedom. And that's the four big industries together with the billionaires in the World Economic Forum, which is really a business club and not an NGO. I want to state it again. So we have to make rules. We have to. They have a young leader program where a lot of politicians went through, which are now in charge, and we really have to stop this system, and we have to rethink our society and use technology to support more freedom and liberties than to use it just for control from fear. Because fear is a very bad advisor, my father told me always. It's about freedom, and it's about trust. And yes, we have to re-educate people from the youth on. We have to make a new society. We have to create new institutions. We have to think about ethical principles, ethical commissions, to see that our institutions cannot be corrupted by money. We have to look to the excesses of capitalism, like the billionaires and their power and the big multinationals. But we have also to look at the poor people. In Holland alone, there are 1 million people with more than €250 a month too short. So we have really to rethink our society, and we the people have to do that, and not some billionaires and multinationals together in the World Economic Forum. And what we see in Holland, the judge had just a case on the suspension of the discrimination pass. Our lawyers asked for that. And the judge says, no, we are totally following the government and the Health Institute, the RIVM in Holland. So the judge is not independent anymore. And that's a very big, a bomb under our legal system. And while our minister president was talking and screaming together with the European Union against Poland and the judges there, the same week in Holland, the judge decided like this. And then, based on a law, which was an emergency law, but which is now a vaccination law, because all the matrices, all the criteria are changed to vaccination instead of sickness, illness, or whatever. So you see also that in the dashboards, the criteria are continuously changing, and it's all towards vaccination, and in the end it will be a social credit law. And I want to ask you, everybody who's listening and seeing this video, look into yourself, take your responsibility. We are human people. And take the decision you feel you have to do. and stand up. Don't agree with a past and discriminatory system or rules. And we have to stop it in the beginning, because it will get more and more criteria on your pass to get a green code. In Israel now, you need a third jab to get the green color of your pass and the entry to society. It's unbelievable that this can happen in 18 months' time. So what you see, that judgment this week in Holland was a big one. We are going further with legal cases, also with, we call that burgerlijke ongehoorzaamheid, so where people are not doing anymore what the government tells them because it's not legal. It's not according to the basic laws. But in Holland alone, imagine 1.5 billion in a test organization, 1.5 in vaccine purchases, 5,000 extra controllers instead of nurses, 5,000 extra controllers to control if we are using the pass instead of nurses in hospitals, lawyers, extra lawyers in the Ministry of Health, lawyers, because they are using our legal system to implement a discriminatory state. And this is excluding the costs of support of COVID victims of the measures, not the virus. It's unbelievable how much money is spent on victims of the regulations of the government itself. So we have to prevent this happening, that the social credit system is implemented in the free Western world. And we have to rethink our world and make it really free and use technology to make really a nice future, which is inspiring, which is creative, where we can all have a nice party. What we also see is the example, if you want to see where it can head to, go to Lithuania. There, the vaccine dealers, I call them vaccine dealers because they are, and we know with what kind of people we have to do. The opiate crisis in the US created around 500,000 dead people. The people look horrible who are using opiates, and they work together with the street drugs business. So, and they heading towards a fine of $23 billion. That's not because you are behaving very neatly to the people, but over the bodies of 500,000 people, they did a business. It's pure business. So imagine what they are going to do right now, together with big tech, big media, and big finance. Short news. What we see in a lot of countries the same rules, the same agenda, the same marketing communications propaganda. And they use our governments, our money to implement. How clever is that? For their marketing, for their sales. And they are multiplying the sales from around 32 billion to over 200 billion. And now they are having a new item this week, from this week on. The newest item is the flu. So now they are promoting the flu as a reason to vaccinate everybody extra. So we get now the COVID, which was, we cannot talk about a comparison with the flu. And now they're using the flu to compare with COVID and to sell extra vaccines. This is really a disgusting business case over our freedom and our privacy. So the WHO is also now having, just by accident, a malaria vaccine, which is also based on mRNA. You can imagine the new flu vaccines also. So this is a kind of business case to sell as much vaccines as possible and implement it legally so the citizens cannot say no anymore. China is planning a big outbreak. We have to see what's going on there and what do they know what we don't know. There's worldwide a huge underreporting of usefulness and reliability of vaccines. The latest reports are indicating that it's maximum 3 months very effective, and then the effectiveness goes down. Look into nature.com. In Israel, the outbreaks are now among vaccinated people. 96% of cases is vaccinated at least in the last 6 months. You can see the more details on eurosurveillance.org. In Australia, the situation is worrying. It's a kind of military coup, vaccine coup, and also bribery. There's one minister of premier from a partly state, which is now suspended on possible bribery scandal, millions from Pfizer, to keep the measures in Australia. Then last but not least, Canada, where the Prime Minister Trudeau, which was part of the Young Leaders Program of the World Economic Forum, is a kind of unbelievable, behaving like a vaccine dealer. So, and all by force, not listening to people and ridiculizing any other voice or meaning or content. Now, in the Netherlands, it's quite the same. The flu is being promoted. Side effects are not reported, but there will be a case now from an independent organization, BPOC, towards the government to stop the whole vaccination program because of all the vaccine adverse effects. And last but not least, I come from a kind of a really independent organization, NGO, Privacy First, and what we see is the complete silence of all human rights organizations right now in the world. And at least Amnesty, I don't hear anything from Amnesty or from other Human Rights Watch or whatever. And that's exactly the example of how it works, because they get their money from other NGOs or from governments. And everything is going in line with the government WHO narrative. So that's a little bit to update this week. I see already some marketing issues from the vaccine dealers for the next week and weeks to broaden the implementation of the pass into companies and schools here in Holland. And you see that they sell it like freedom and just temporarily, but in reality it's the implementation of a control system, structural control system. And the marketing is very clever and advanced, but if you think something is in this story which I tell you, you see some of points which you say, okay, I understand that, or I see it the same, then you're going to look very differently to this news and agenda. So till the next journal, and have a good week and stand up. Thanks.